Okay, just a quick video to show you how I'm using Joel Turbo Parker's instructions from RC Groups to make one of these, a homemade Hyperion 180 milliamp 2-cell Lipo battery to replace or to augment the stock 120 milliamp 2-cell Lipo battery that comes with the Eflite Beast Ultra Micro Extreme. Be using the connector that you get from RC Connectors, Glenn, another RC Groups guy. This particular one, I'm going to put a bit of shrink wrap over tubing over top of the wiring. Piece of plastic for the tab. I do have some more dots as well of Velcro. 2 Hyperion CXG3 25C lipos, 180 milliamps. That's the supplies, along with some two-sided thermal insulating window duct tape that you get from, in our case, Canadian Tire, but most hardware stores. To do this, you're going to need I'm going to need a soldering stand or a soldering assistant that's going to help me do the soldering. Some liquid electrical tape, and I'm using the toothpick actually to do the application of it. Some electrical solder. I use my side cutters, hobby knife with a very sharp brand new blade, pair of needle nose once in a while, you need that. Use my 2-temperature soldering iron, and ultimately hobby glue gun. And in the event that there's an issue, I have a set of plumber's wrenches here that I'm going to be able to grab the lipo, and it's going to be tossed into an old metal toolbox that I can just toss it in, close the lid on, and contain it in the event that I actually short the lipo out, which I hope I will not. And to avoid some of these little tiny marks that you see on here, you can see a couple little kind of claw marks. Came from the claws on the stand. I'm just going to be using a little piece of plastic baggie there that I had from one of my parts bags. Okay, I'm going to try and show you something here. Each of these batteries has both a positive and a negative terminal. It comes from the factory with the negative terminal with a piece of shrink wrap over it to stop accidental shorting, and it's the same on both. Okay, so once you're ready to roll, I'll probably be swapping the protector over to the positive terminal on one battery and negative terminal on the other. That way when I flip these over across onto each other, I'll be negative and positive terminals both open. Those two that are both open will be soldered together along with the white wire, and that will form, that's your balancing plug wire. Once you're done the solder piece, trim the tabs, bend them together, solder the white wire on, cover it all with the electrical tape, liquid electrical tape, let it dry for a second. Then what you're going to end up doing is you're going to be soldering the red wire to the positive terminal on one battery and the black wire to the negative terminal on the other battery. Individually, of course, you don't want to do them together. Do them one at a time. Make sure that after you do the solder, liquid electrical tape, let it dry. Solder the other one, liquid electrical tape, let it dry. Once that's done, I gooped a bunch of liquid electrical tape over the entire thing, let it dry. I then used hot glue for the tension support, so that when you're moving the battery or working with the wiring, you don't actually pull the wiring off of the solder joints. This one's a little bit longer than the stock. You'll see I actually cut this one the second pack's wiring down a little bit shorter, so it'll be closer to that stock length. Make it easier to handle inside the plane. Okay, off we go. Okay, as you can see, what I've done now is I've taken and I've sandwiched them together, positive to negative, or on both ends. Okay, and in sandwiching them together, I've also exposed or bent out the wires so that they're bent out away from each other, just for safety's sake. Okay, now we'll commence with the soldering. Okay, as you can see, I've got the soldering helper stand set up so that the white wire is attached to the two trimmed leads. Two trimmed leads, positive and negative, that are going to be my balancing plug side, are set so they just wrap over each other. And of course, through the magnifier you can see it a little bit better. And that's where we're going to go. Now we're going to solder it up. So I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but I've done the first solder and I've placed the black electrical tape on it. It might show a little better. There you go. Just along the back of the battery pack. Now I'll just let that dry, and I'll solder the black negative lead on the left side, which would be the near side, and then on the far side. So the near side for the black electrical, and the far side for the black negative, and the far side for the red positive. Okay, what we've done now, we've finished soldering on the black wire, and it's secured, and there's some liquid electrical tape on that. Now got the red wire positioned with about a 1/8 of an inch on the positive tab, waiting to be soldered. It's really hard to see. We'll try our best. Probably best under the magnifying glass. And then we'll go from there. Okay, as you can see, I finished the soldering, plus and minus. I forgot to mention I'd put the shrink wrap tubing on the top of the wiring before I started soldering, so I could slide it down, just shrink wrap it. Again, it'll just give it all a little bit tighter fit, so that there's a little less chance that it's going to pull off. Now I've covered it with quite a bit of liquid electrical tape. That stuff weighs almost nothing. It was unnoticeable, so I don't mind using an extra, even if you add an extra half a gram weight to the battery pack. I think it's worth it for the security of knowing you're not going to have any shorts. So I'm going to let that dry for a few more minutes, warming up my glue gun, and we're going to just put some glue over the top of it, so we'll have it looking somewhat like this. So as you can see, the pack's now finished. We've got hot glue, and this time a little tiny bit of shrink wrap tubing, a little Velcro dot underneath on the tab, and sits right in there. Very similar in size and length to the stock pack, a little shorter than the previous one I made. Now we're just going to check the weight and see how we came out. So let's use a zeroed scale. Stock pack 9.5. First pack 11.7, or about 2.2 grams. New pack 11.8. A little bit more hot glue, so about 2.3 grams. There we go. So we are sitting at just over 2 grams heavier than the 120 milliamp pack for the two Hyperion 180 milliamp packs. Good stuff. Thanks again, Joel. And we're going to throw this new pack on the charger. See how it holds up. Talk to you later.